morning, bookies. My name is Hannah, and welcome back to Top 10 Tuesdays. So today we are talking about the top 10 books that I read, but I completely forgot everything about. These aren't in any particular order. I'm just kind of going to go quickly through them and just kind of give a brief summary of why I think I forgot everything about them, like what was going on with my life, stuff kind of like that, and like the reason why I think I forgot everything about that book. So let's begin. Before we do though, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys like Top 10 Tuesdays? Would you like to continue seeing more? Do you guys want to take a break? Because I was thinking like after episode 10, I would maybe take a couple weeks off from Top 10 Tuesdays, give you guys some more different content on Tuesdays, and then maybe in like March or April, go back into Top 10 Tuesdays and kind of resume just to give you guys a little bit of a break. So if you guys have opinions on this, please leave it in a comment below. I would love to know your guys' opinions about this, and let's get into the list. So the first book I have on this list is Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stohl. I can't remember anything about this book or the movie, which I read probably in 9th grade, and the movie came out not much later, and I literally can't remember anything about this book except that it was hard and that I had to fight to get through it. I mean, it's not a small book, it's a pretty sizable book, but I remember like I was halfway through it one day and I was like, this is the longest book I've ever read. And I was like, it was hard. It was just, you know, when you read a book and it's like the plot's slow, there's not much action, there's not much stuff going on, you're just not into it. That's exactly how I felt with Beautiful Creatures, to a point that when I finished it, I knew I would not be picking up the second one. And I think that's partly the reason why I forgot everything, is because it was kind of boring and I didn't really like it. So that is why I think I forgot that one. Let's move on. So the next one on this list, I think I'm going to blame my forgetfulness about this book on being kind of young when I read it and not really knowing how to keep track of stuff like that, I guess. That probably doesn't make any sense, but the next book is Halo by Alexandra Adornetto. I remember reading Halo and Hades, which are the first two books of this trilogy. Amelia owns them all. I only own Halo. And I don't really remember that much of it. I do know I liked it. That's all I can remember. But I'm going to blame this on the fact that I was in like 9th grade when I read it. And that was the year when my reading really kind of boomed and took off, and I read so many books in that year that I think it all kind of just melded together to the point that I was like, did this happen in this book or did this happen in this book? I guess we'll never know. The next book on my list is from one of my favorite authors. Like this isn't like a kid's book, so I can't say this is like from one of my favorite authors as a kid. It's more like one of my favorite authors that helped me get into reading, and that is Alex Flynn, and the book is Bewitching. I can't remember a thing about Bewitching, but I remember that I loved her other books. I love like A Kiss in Time, I love Beastly, what is the other one? But anyway, this book, Bewitching, was kind of, it's not her usual kind of book. Most of them were love stories and retellings. I don't think Bewitching was any of them from what I can remember. I really do kind of want to go back to it though and reread all of her books, because I loved her books. I loved retellings. She's the one that got me into retellings, but I don't know if I'll ever have the time to do it, but fingers crossed that I actually get to it someday. The next one on my list is not a book, but a series that I read so long ago I don't even remember how long ago it was, and that is the Iron Fae series by Julie Kagawa. I love this series. I adored this series so much. Fairies just interested me so much, and when I was like, oh wow, this book seems good, I'm gonna randomly pick it up from the bookstore, and I did. And then I went home and I read it, and then like the next day I had to go and get the second one. And that's the kind of book that I love, where it's like, I just finished the first book, I have to go get the second book right now. The only problem is I can't really remember anything about this series. I think she's still kind of grinding out the series just a little bit. I mean, I think there's one more that I don't own. And I don't know if I'll ever pick it up, honestly, but I do want to reread the series because it was such a good series and it is a very big part of my teenage reading years. Next, I want to reread this book that I completely forgot about because it's becoming a movie this year, and it is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I remember that I loved this book. Dog's gotta ruin my tripod. All I really remember about this book is Ruby. Was that her name? I think that was her name. I'm not 100% sure. And then was it Liam? It's so sad because I love this book and I can't even remember the characters' names, which is awful because it was such a good book. I haven't read the second or the third one, but pretty much right now it doesn't really matter. So this is getting a movie this year, and I really, really, really want to reread it so I can actually critique the movie to the point that it's like, they didn't put that part in, they messed up that part, that character should not be acting that way. Like, that's one of my favorite things. So I'm hopefully going to be picking up this book very soon. The next book I have is literally, I'm so ashamed that I forgot everything about this book. It is Fangirl from Rainbow Rowell, and I don't really remember anything from this book. I remember reading Eleanor and Park, and I thought Eleanor and Park was great, and then I remember reading Fangirl and thinking Fangirl was great, and I think I really connected with the main character, and then it's like one day, boom, I woke up and I was like, what is that book even about? I feel so bad, and so I know I own 2 copies of that book, so it should be easy to reread. It is on my reread list for this year. A lot of these books aren't going to be getting that treatment this year, but hopefully these books, like, one day I'll be like, yeah, I guess I'll reread that. I guess I'll pick it up again, so hopefully one day I'll be rereading all these books. The next series I have on my list is the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. I don't remember anything from the series except for the characters' names, which is Nora and Patch, and I always liked those names. I thought those names were interesting, and then I was like, I don't know what happened, guys. Honestly, I loved all these little series growing up. As a teenager, I read them in junior high, and I read them in high school, and then it's like, once I left high school, it was all, boom, gone. This happened with Hush Hush series, which I'm speaking about now. I think it's because I read so many books in such a quick succession that at one point they all kind of just blended together, and I was confused, and I kind of just let it all gray out into the distance and just be like, goodbye, I don't remember what any of you were about. This happened to the Hush Hush series, and this happened to my next series, which is the Body Finder series by Kimberly Durting. These 2 series got the treatment that they didn't deserve. All I remember is that they were good series. The Body Finder series I am going to reread because I did love the idea of a girl being able to find bodies, and I don't think I'll ever read the Hush Hush series again because I know it's about angels, and I think I've kind of outgrown that a little bit. So I'll probably reread the Body Finder series, but I won't reread Hush Hush. And now we're down to the final 2 of this list. These are the 2 that I am so ashamed of, and that they are on my reread list for this year, 2018. I am rereading these books. The first series I have is the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer, and I don't remember anything about the series except for the characters because I loved the different characters. I loved the retelling. I loved how she made it sci-fi, and it was beautiful, and I accidentally spoiled myself the other day for it. But one of the reasons I think I forgot this series is I read Cinder, Cress, and Scarlet, not in that order. I read it in the right order. I read them very quickly because I was in love with the series, and then I had to wait for winter. And that is where it just doomed me, because it took a year for winter to come out, and in that year I kept on reading. I was reading different books, and then I forgot what this series was about, which is so sad. And one day this year, I promise, I'm going to pick up Cinder and reread it. So wish me luck on that one. And last but not least, the final series on this list that I am currently rereading, at least I'm trying to. I think I've gotten 3 pages into this reread. It's a little harder than I remember. But this is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I forgot everything. I can only name literally certain scenes from this book, like the vampire motorcycle, the ships or the boats, or like there was something. The second book, I don't remember the ending. Was it a ship or a boat or something? I remember the angel. I remember the fairy queen. That's it. That's all I remember from those books. That's so sad because I love this series so much. And it's kind of depressing because I feel like it's kind of now up there with the Harry Potter series, where it's a little weird if you haven't read it yet, and it's very popular on BookTube. And I haven't read the Harry Potter series. I can't start admitting that I don't remember anything from the City of Bones and City of Ashes and the Immortal Instruments. The Infernal Devices aren't even a problem for me. I remember the Infernal Devices. I haven't read the Dark Artifices, so that's not even a problem for me yet. But I am going to reread the City of Bones, the Immortal Instruments, this year. They're all going to get read this year, from like, I'm going to read City of Bones to like the Queen of Air and Darkness. I'm going to read all of those this year because Queen of Air and Darkness comes out in December, and I'm kind of doing the read-along thing with Heckyeahbooks, so hopefully I will get them back to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And this year I'm going to keep actual tags or tickets in them, so I remember. That is enough rambling for me for the day. I'm sure you are all sick of it. I will see you guys in the next video. If you do want to see more Top 10 Tuesdays, or if you want to see less of them, please put it in the comments. I really do want to hear some feedback about this. I would appreciate it very much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Rock on. Hey guys, I'm Hannah at Heckyeahbooks, and today me and my sister, who you are going to meet in just a few seconds, we are doing the siblings tag. So she is sitting behind the camera.